All right, everybody, welcome back to Bumbershoot, where we're covering life's chaos with humor and heart. Hello, everybody. How are ya?
Hello. Hi. Good.
Hello.
And we've got Dad back, Mr. Lorenzo Pasquale Camella, a.k.a. Lawrence Patrick Camella, a.k.a. Gig Camella, a.k.a. Gigolo, a.k.a. Dad, a.k.a. Papa, a.k.a. Grandpa Gig.
Daddy Gig.
I mean, a lot of names. Yeah. And so speaking of Daddy Gig, that's what we're going to get into. So, Dad, we talked last week about you and your life and kind of giving a little bit of background on your early days. And then I have shared on previous episodes, and if you are just joining us or haven't heard, you can look back on episodes about the earlier days of my childhood. And I have siblings, and we've talked about the siblings I grew up with. We talked about the siblings I found out about later in life, as did Dad. And but I just want to talk about Dad. I just kind of want to transition into you. When I was born, I had two older sisters from your first marriage. And then we had Brandy and I with Mom. And so I just kind of want to talk about becoming a dad and kind of what that meant, kind of talk about the early days with me and our bond, because I can't say that either, but
We know what you want to say.
Dad, everybody's Dad's favorite. Dad, everybody is Dad's favorite, but we have a special connection, as everybody has their own special connection. And
That's for sure.
I kind of grew up thinking that I was like the son that you never had, in a way. Yeah.
That's the first time I heard that.
Really? Well, because like I would sit and watch the games with you and the fights with you and sip on your little beer sitting next to you in your recliner chair. And I played softball and not dance or gymnastics. No offense, girls, but it was just different, like, I mean, Cami and Nicole played softball too. So they got that until they went into their different directions. But I played softball from like 8 years old till 8th grade through 8th grade. So I don't know. I just kind of felt like,
So you were a tomboy.
ish, yeah. I mean, a feminine tomboy.
Right.
But also, like, I spent time with Dad. Cami did too a lot. Cami, as an older daughter, did, and then I did. But just running errands with him and doing. Brandy was busy doing gymnastics, and Nicole was busy doing dance, and those are two really demanding things. So, Cami and I think, got more opportunity. Cami doing horses, which was something that really related to Dad, and then me doing just cheering at a football game. It's a dad's like, yeah, I get to go to a football game and support you.
It's a win-win.
So I just wanted to talk about like kind of that kind of stuff. So tell us what it was like. Like, I love your stories about when I was a baby and all you like to share those stories. Oh, you have water now. No excuses.
Yep. Yeah, when you were a baby, and I remember some of my funnest time to spend it with you was when your mother would take you in, give you a bath or a shower, and then she'd hand you off to me, and I'd be in bed. I'd be laying in bed. Charity had just got dried off, but she had this, this little baby body. I'd put her on my chest, and I think that's where I felt like we really connected, why we're so close. I think from those days when her and I she'd be laying on my chest, and I could just love her.
Yeah.
It's funny because you see now, like, it's this big thing with parents, like the dads being like taking their shirts off in the hospital too, skin to skin, like that. I mean, as long as people don't go weird in their brains, but like it's a thing now it's like having the dad bond the same as the mom as much as they can.
It was weird for me to see that at first, but like, I guess as time is going on, like I get it, I understand it, but
Dad was doing it long before it was popular, Dad. He like started the trend.
Over 50 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then when I was like not even one, didn't you go back and get your GED and graduate? We talked about that. Yeah, that you did end up graduating high school as an adult. You were how old when I was born? 32, I want to say. 33?
You were born at 73.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 38.
Oh, you were 35. Am I doing that? You're the numbers guy.
Yeah, I know.
help
30,
a sister
35.
out.
35.
I was
But,
like,
I'm,
oh, so
but,
yeah.
but I'm on the spot. at
Oh,
the
yeah.
moment.
I just yeah, this thought. Oh, I guess you were older than I thought. 35. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good age for a man to have a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to tell this story
Okay.
because for those who can't see me right now, I'm going to do it real quick.
I'm going to take a picture.
Charity's born in Providence, Rhode Island, in the Lying-in Hospital. I don't know why they gave it that name, but anyway, that's the same hospital I was born in.
Aw.
So Charity and I were born in the same hospital, probably in the same NICU or whatever you call it.
Birthing center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We weren't in the NICU. That's the like
Sick baby.
ICU
Intensive
for the
care.
Oh.
newborns. Yeah, we weren't in there.
I think
Okay.
it was called a maternity ward.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks, Tracy.
Sometimes my brain
Tracy's got to
works.
make it simple. Thank you, Tracy. No, so anyway, I got to remember this is an Italian section of Providence. So after your mom had you, you were in with all the other babies.
Nursery.
Yeah.
In the nursery.
There you go.
And I remember I was leaning in, looking at my daughter, and somebody said, "Which one is yours?" And I held back for a minute.
He was embarrassed.
It was so hard to say the tomato with little white hair. She was so red. All these other babies had tons of hair, black hair, and dark skin. And I had the only tomato in the whole nursery.
With no hair.
With no hair. Yeah, it was
Peach fuzz
hysterical.
hair.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
That's cute.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so then where do you think, like, what, I know you think that we had that connection, early on, but where, like, I don't know, along the way, what are the things that, like, made us connected?
well, I think the time we spend together.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always at your games when you were cheering.
When I was playing ball,
Yeah, me playing ball. I
you
went
guys
to-
were very present parents, like,
and
at
then
everything.
I always had a boat, and
Yeah.
I had the ski boat,
Yeah.
and you brought all your friends, and
Yeah.
I was the chauffeur all weekend. But we used to
Surfacing everything all the time, like all the dads do.
Yeah, we had the houseboat. We spent a lot of time as a family doing stuff.
Yeah, we
And,
did a lot.
Yeah, and you were always willing to work with me
Yeah.
or do something with me. So yeah, I always felt that closeness.
Yeah, and dad's like MacGyver, like literally everything that, like, he would make something out of nothing in our backyard, like tire swing. I think before tire swings even existed, he was making a tire swing. He built us a playhouse because he owned a lumber yard.
Nice.
That's okay. He remember when we were talking about, did I talk about doing those little plays when we were young and how he
Yes.
made Peter Pan fly? He
Yes.
made me fly.
Yep.
Yeah, he's always, and so, yeah, he's a fix-it kind of guy, like makes things, I don't know, magically. We used to call him MacGyver, if you know MacGyver, if you're old enough to know MacGyver. But yeah, Dad was always good with his hands and creating things out of nothing, really. And then he was a toy guy, like everything. We always had motor something, ATVs. Was that what they're
Yeah.
called? ATCs back in the day. ATCs. We had wave runners. We had a boat. We had a pool table. Like, as Dad made money, he spent it on the family fun stuff. And so, yeah, and then he didn't have any boys to distract him from the girls. So we got all the attention. So we learned to ride dirt bikes and we learned to, work at the lumber yard. And he just took us and did a lot of stuff with us. Yeah.
You guys are lucky to have him.
I know.
That's a good dad to me.
Yeah,
Really
it is.
love
He was
that.
very hands-on. And even though he worked a lot. You worked a lot. Remember I worked?
Yeah, the store was open 7 days a week.
Yeah. But it was like he would take us to work, but it wasn't the only time we got him. And that's a lot of times, like, it's hard for dads, I think, sometimes to juggle that. But like, he would take us to work. He would teach us what we needed to learn. But then he would take time with us. He would, we eat lunch together in his office, but he always made time for vacationing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sure that's that's why we're all close to him. Really, we're all close to you for that reason, because you always made time for the family. So, and I think that you learned a lot of things you wanted to do from your dad, and you learned a lot of things you didn't want to do from your dad, right?
I did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and then now today, as a papa, well, first of all, I want to say, as people know, because if they've listened, that I started out as one of 3 siblings, and then we added Brandy, and then as an adult, I became one of 8 siblings of dad's. And ancestry is to thank for 2 of them. But and if you haven't listened, you'll have to go back and listen. But anyway, but the cute thing is, and the reason I bring that up again is 1, because we're talking dad, but 2, a lot of my friends have wanted to adopt him as their dad and have. And so
Like
he's
me.
kind of the dad of everyone.
Family.
Yeah. All of the friends, he's their dad. And then all of our kids, he's Papa. And so, and he's 86, but he wears his Hey Dudes and his Vans, and he's always dressed with style and fashion. And he's got FOMO. He always wants to be at everything and
Goes
do
to
all the
everything.
fun stuff, and goes to all the kids' games. And even after his grandkids graduated and aren't playing anymore, he's still going to their friends and other families' kids' games and stuff. So. Yeah, Dad, where do you get that from? Like, because you didn't grow up having like that same atmosphere, environment. Where did that come from?
My dad never, the only thing my dad and I had was horses because of it being the cavalry. So most of the time I spent with my dad, it was being around horses and working on horses or the barn or whatever. But no, I always wish that they didn't work so hard. My parents worked very hard too. And if they would have not had to work so hard, I would be able to spend more time with them, because I loved spending time with my dad. He was a great guy.
Yeah.
And my mother, I would be in the kitchen because I love it. She was a great cook. And
Yes,
to be
she
with her,
was.
I spent time in the kitchen. So now, as a father, I feel it's very important that I take the time to have that personal, it's sometimes one-on-one or as a group or whatever, but being with my children is what keeps my heart pumping.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so you were a son whose parents had to work a lot. You were a dad who worked a lot. How do you what's your message to dads that's a lot of times a dad syndrome is workaholic and trying to juggle and find time. So what is your advice to dads that are trying to figure that out?
Even though a dad who works hard is doing it for the right reasons, sometimes the result is not worth it. So I would say that if you don't plan your life and make children a part of every day, then you're not only cheating yourself, you're cheating your children.
That's right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so do you guys, let's do about a 10 to 12 minute question and answers, because we've got time. Unless Dad, should we start with you? Is there anything else kind of at the top of your list that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, there is. This one thing that I think is very difficult for a dad, and the experience I've had is you love all your children, but you love them all differently. And it's important that each one of them get the message that your love is the same equally with all of them.
Just like you got the message that you're equal to your siblings with your mom.
That's not how
If you don't remember, you'll have to listen, because that's funny. No, but I get what you're saying. It is very important, because there's always the kids that think that one's more of a favorite than the other, and they just don't understand that different kids need different things.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what appears even with my own kids, Luca didn't have a friend group growing up. I mean, he had his teammates, but he didn't really hang out with friends. So I felt the need to plug into him more, so he didn't feel lonely and he didn't kind of, feel alienated. So I would make time for him, take him out, and kind of do a lot with him, more effort into him than I did with Logan, because Logan didn't need it. He had his friends. He was always busy. But now it appears that I favor Luca, and it's not true. It's just a different relationship with each.
It's your way of protecting him too.
Yeah. And Logan, he doesn't need as much protection. And, Luca, as he gets older, obviously different. But when he was a kid, that's kind of how it was. So, and I think with your mom, you needed protection from your dad, because all the decisions you would make that had consequences. So your mom was constantly, where your brother, he was little. So he kind of got taken care of by everybody and didn't need the same. And so
With my dad, you never got a warning. You got the discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was never, well, the next time you do this, no.
Yeah.
You did it, you're going to pay the price.
I tried to do that in the early days with our kids, and Alex called me Mussolini. I was like, well, they got to know. They got to know
With the
that I
wooden
mean
spoon?
business, And I never believed in counting. Like, I don't do 1, 2, 3. It was like, you already know you're not supposed to do it. We're not counting. So, yeah. And then let's talk about innately, you're a pretty good cook. You kind of learned, did you learn from your mom, or it's just kind of, I think it's something in Italian, just the genes, because Alex cooks, his brothers cook, like all the Italian boys cook.
Well, all of my cooking came from my mom. When I was younger, I enjoyed working with her in the kitchen. And the result of that was I got to own my own restaurant. I got to work for a big restaurant company, and I worked for Marriott Corporation. I was food and beverage director.
I didn't know that.
Dad, speaking of that, how many jobs have you had in your life?
It was funny because I don't know why, but I save all my business cards.
Oh my gosh.
I have so many business cards.
You
that
can't even count them.
I can't even count them.
Let's just go through, just start naming all the things you've done and just list them, as many as you could think of, because we know there's millions more. But
You were a butcher.
you were a butcher,
I was
a
a
baker,
butcher.
a candlestick maker.
Salesperson.
I also worked for a Venetian blind company, and I made Venetian blinds, and I actually did it in my backyard and sold them. And then
Roofing.
I sold roofing, a lot of sales.
Yeah.
But surfboards on the East Coast, I used to sell surfboards from York, Maine to Key West, Florida. And I would go in the water and surf and then take orders. And
That's a good
Cars.
job, right?
You sold cars.
I sold cars, wholesale cars. My gosh. there's so
You
many.
sold bowling stuff.
Oh, that's right.
Like the most random
in Vista,
thing.
in Vista, California.
What kind of bowling stuff?
Well, what happened was, me and my uncle, he taught me the car business, and at the time, the Pac-Man and all the pinball machines and all that was pretty big, and they were opening stores near schools, and so I opened one right near Vista High School, and you couldn't just have pinball machines. You had to have something else. So my other uncle was a bowler, so he hooked me up with bowling balls and shoes and everything.
So random.
So half the shop was bowling, and the other half was pinball machines.
I remember that.
Wow.
People would come in, want a bowling ball. I'd say, "Oh yeah, show me how you bowl." I had no clue what I was doing.
Show me how you bowl, and I'll give you
I
a
said,
ball.
"Oh, this ball is real good for you right here."
Dad,
Anyway,
they say that he could sell ice to an Eskimo. It's a true thing.
so yeah, I can't remember all the jobs I've had.
Auctioneer,
Auctioneer, yeah.
lumberyard,
Lumberyard owner.
Yeah,
olive oil.
so olive oil.
Where was your restaurant that you owned?
In Pasco, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Italian food or?
No, it was just a neighborhood a restaurant, but I had worked for a big corporation, Newport Creamery. They're like Howard and Johnson.
Out there, and Grandma worked for them too.
Yeah, and what happened was, she worked for them for 20-something years.
Yeah, a long time.
But anyway, when I opened the restaurant, it was about 10 miles from where our horse farm was. So my mom would get all dressed up in her uniform, jump on the back of my motorcycle, and I would take it to work and bring it back home again.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Speaking of, that's another thing you had a lot of was vehicles.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've had some incredible cars
Yeah.
and motorcycles.
Yep.
I've
Yeah.
always had motorcycles.
And I remember you were also one that liked like the next best thing, especially when you were at your peak with the lumberyard. You had the first mobile phone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously not the first one ever created, but you had the first model that was like a big briefcase in the car.
I remember when Brandy was competing, and I was sitting up in the bleachers, and the phone would ring. I mean, everybody heard the phone ringing, and I'd have this big box next to me, and I pick up the phone, and it was my feed store.
Yeah, the business
and
called you all the time.
building supplies. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What year was that?
it was in the 80s.
Yeah,
it was
that's
in
what
the
I would
80s.
guess
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah.
Yep. And then Dad, when he owned the feed store, he had that how many years? Feed, Fence, and Billings.
15.
15 years. So when people would, he's like so sweet. I think you were. I don't know. I wasn't on the other end of it, but or maybe you weren't sweet about it. But I know we got a lot of things because people couldn't pay you. And so he'd come home with something else that somebody had to give him because they couldn't pay him for whatever.
I got that from the car business. Being in the used car business, we would take anything in trade except for kids. We would take kids.
Okay, good. Yeah.
But if somebody had a bicycle, they want to buy a car, they didn't have money. I took a lot of TVs. So people.
Oh, that's a different day.
And back
Nice of
then,
you.
TVs were expensive, and I would take the TV. I said, "Give me the TV. That'll be your down payment, and you have to be every Friday and pay me so much money for the car."
Oh my gosh. Well, but I remember through the feed store, we got a lot of the fun toys, but we also got a parrot, didn't we?
I used to sell parrots.
You see, another thing, guys. So we had parrots living in our backyard.
Yeah,
He brought home a miniature horse one time.
Didn't you get a horse?
Yeah,
I
the
remember
miniature
that
horse.
story.
Remember
No,
that
you
lived in our
didn't.
it
Yeah.
lived in our backyard in a track hole.
Really?
I sold exotic birds like toucans and all kinds of.
Those are expensive, right?
Parrots,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're worth a lot of money, I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
How did
name
you get the miniature horse?
Somebody owed me money.
See? And then it died because it got twisted intestines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, it
sad.
did.
Thanks.
Yeah, but it was fun to have a little mini. It was a mini. Like
So you didn't ride it?
No.
No,
it was too little.
big dogs are bigger than the mini.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was really small.
That little?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were. Well, I don't know. It was little.
Well,
it was like the size of a
were
big
smaller.
horse. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Yeah. Okay. Give me favorite vacation memory. Not memory, but like, what was your favorite vacation that we did?
I think the ones that I really remember and enjoyed is the ones we used to go to Lake Mead.
Yes.
Yeah. Lake Mead,
Mine
we
too.
rent a houseboat,
Yep.
take the wave runners out.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yep. I
Yeah.
told Alex, I said, we got to do that because that was my fondest memories as a kid, and we have never done it.
Where is that? Is
So-
that in Utah?
No, it's an hour outside of Vegas,
Oh, okay.
like an hour and a half past Henderson.
That
yeah,
sounds
it's
like
so
fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
Great time.
That's
Yep.
a good day right there.
Okay, favorite car you ever had?
My favorite car was a 56. A 65 Solana convertible, Ford convertible.
A Solana?
Sunliner.
Oh, Sunliner.
Sunliner. It was
Those are big, like Cadillacs, right?
like black and white.
Uh-huh.
it was even bigger because it had a Continental kit on the back.
Oh.
And
I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool.
that's where you put the tire on the back.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, I've seen that.
Extend the bumper.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think today they put like lift kits on those things.
Yeah, that car was an automatic, and I tell you this story real quick. And I wanted a 4-speed, so I bought a 4-speed transmission. Now I'm not a mechanic. My dad was very much more a mechanic than I was, and when he saw what I was doing to that car, he goes, "That car will never be on the road again." But one day after I finished it, I was driving out the driveway and I was waving at my dad, and he couldn't believe it. I had to make the clutch pedal because it didn't have a clutch pedal.
MacGyver, I'm telling you, he's MacGyver.
So I made a clutch pedal and able to drive the car.
How long? How long could you drive? Did it make it down the street?
Oh no! I drove that car for a couple of years. I love
Really?
that car. I had it in 2 parades.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
That's cool. Very cool.
Wow.
Well, a couple other notarized. Your business was in Wildemar, and you were on the first Chamber of Commerce in Wildemar, correct?
We started. I was executive board
Yep.
charter member.
Charter member.
Chata.
He's a charter member. And then
Chowder.
Chata. So Rhode Islanders say their R's where they don't, like where there is no R, and then take them out where they're supposed to be. Like park the car.
We have our own language.
Tell us how to park the car in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
park the car.
Park the car in the parking lot.
You making fun of me?
I love that accent. I do too.
It's fun. Yeah, when he goes back east, he comes Rhode Island more. Now he goes down to Florida because all his siblings are down in Florida now.
But they bring their
Accent.
language with them.
Yeah. But he used to, like, every time he'd visit, he'd come back really thick with a thick accent. Do you guys have any questions? There's so many.
You
Heather.
always do.
I feel like, was it your 85th birthday? What year? Or was it, we had the party that, was it 20s party? Or I don't
The
know.
50s party last year.
50s party.
Mm-hmm.
We did like a huge Q&A with him.
Oh, yeah, that's
so I feel like some
right.
of this stuff I know and remember, but yeah, you could write a book. You have
Yeah, we did do that.
a lot of great stories.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just love you because I don't know many of my girlfriends' parents at this age, but I'm lucky to know both of Charity's parents. You guys are still super involved and we love it. We love you so much.
Same. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You guys are like no other. Like I don't think I've ever met anybody like you ever.
Aw.
So
So special.
love you.
Well,
We love you.
my friends and family make me who I am.
Yeah.
Well, and it's cute because, like, if he thinks about his friends, it's you guys.
I know.
You don't really have friends your age, do you? Just your cousin.
No, because all I want to do is talk about their illnesses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad's like, I
That's
don't
no
want to date a
fun.
girl my age because she's too old.
Yeah.
Like,
That's no fun.
yeah.
Yeah. You
He
wanna
was
laugh
riding
and-
motorcycles. What age did we retire your motorcycle? Or it retired you?
When I got the accident,
Was
Yeah.
it
Logan
2016?
was in high school.
It
I
was,
remember
um,
that he had one.
it was 2015. I was 77 years old.
Yeah,
I remember
77 he was riding too. He almost died. So we're like, okay, no more motorcycle
Yeah,
for
you're
you.
done.
You have a lot of, Dad's not married. He hasn't been married since the divorce with my mom, but he has a lot of wives, children wives. Like all of his daughters are mommies to him. We were just yesterday at, watching my nephew's game and her, so Heather that's been on, I think she was on two weeks ago. Yeah. Her mom, who's got a cane, she has a little problem walking, and then Dad, who's got his ankle from his surgeries, makes him unstable and gets swollen. So you got Heather and I like, watch out where you're going. Go over here. Get this. Don't do that. And my dad like goes to lift his leg to get on the bleachers, not holding anything. And he's
my
like leans back.
gosh.
I'm like,
my
don't do it that way. And they keep looking at each other and they're like, we think we can do it. And, we're getting in trouble. And they're like constantly like, we were getting after her. I go, you got like moms now. Like we're moms too. And Dad goes, yeah, it's funny how it goes full circle, you know?
Yep.
I'm
True.
like, yeah. And he took a long time to get even remotely old, as we would say. He's just starting
So
to
young.
like
He's still young.
feel his age. Maybe not 86, but he's starting to feel like 70 now.
Maybe 70.
I try not to mention things that hurt so that they don't treat me like a baby.
That's a good idea.
Smart.
Yeah, but you have to know. Like Dad, that's what I was going to say. In the last couple minutes to kind of wrap up this episode, I was going to say that throughout our lives, we've had some like not directly ups and downs, but like things that have happened in our father-daughter journey. Some of the stuff has been really hard, and we've had confrontations. And but what I want to say is that our relationship, it's really healthy to be able to say, "Hey, this hurt me," or "This is what you did. This was my perspective of what happened," and that's something that Dad's always been very, very good about listening and hearing if I have something to address with him. And that's, I think, also contributed to our really close bond. And some things are tough, I mean, and he knows that we've had some heart to hearts, but we don't stay in that place. We don't get mad forever, or whatever it is that has affected the situation. We don't stay in it. We resolve it and we move on. And that's something that I'm grateful for, because not everyone can do that. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate that we are able to be honest with one another. And so it has been something that and even if I were to just talk about Dad, you can't drive. I don't want you driving there. The other girls maybe don't say anything. I'm always the one he's like, you're always the one. You're always the one that gets on me. But at the same time, we're very close because of it. And he knows that it's in his best interest. There's times that, he doesn't have a wife. A lot of times a husband and a wife at this age are there to guide each other, kind of look after each other. And he doesn't have that. So we've got to do it. And then I also tell my boys to do it. Luca lives with him, and even though you never see him, but he's here if you did need him. But yeah, it's something that you kind of just got to look out for your parents as they get older anyway. And I was like, even as my mom and her husband get a little older, I'm sure I'm going to be, helping both of them, guide them, and kind of tell them what they should or shouldn't do. So anyways, all right. Well, Dad, thanks so much for coming on. I love you. And this has been cool. We've been trying to do this for 20 something episodes.
Yes.
No,
Get
thank
you
you,
in
girls.
here.
Thanks,
I love you all.
Gig. We
We
love
love
you.
you too.
We love you. All right, you guys, that's not all. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening to Bumbershoot, where we're lovering. Well, we love covering life's chaos with humor and heart. That works out. All right, we'll see you next week. Or no, we'll talk to you next week.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.